What's up, ladies and gentlemen, Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. Let's go into it. What am I going to be speaking about in today's video? I'm going to be speaking about when is it time to start working with spirits and entities? At what point in your spiritual self-development, or just in your self-development in general, is it time to start doing invocations? Is it time to start doing rituals? Is it time to start doing spells and things in that nature? At what point do we start diving into these practices? I'm going to really be breaking this down from a very practical standpoint, giving you everything that you need to possibly know before getting into spirit work. Or if you're someone that's already into spiritual work, this video can also offer you a lot of value because I'm going to really be dissecting and sort of in a way reverse engineering the process that you want to follow in order to get the most out of your spiritual work or working with spirits. So if this is a video that intrigues you and it seems like something that you're going to gain value from, then listen to that. Stay tuned. All right, let me first start with introducing myself, just in case you don't know who I am. If you're new to my channel, welcome in. If you're reoccurring to my channel, glad to have you here. All right, my name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I'm a professional occultist. I'm fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied when it comes to planets in association with astrology. And I'm also studied when it comes to the nervous system and how trauma affects the nervous system. So with that being said, now you know who I am. So let's jump right in. So we're talking about when is it time to start doing work with spirits and with entities? When do you know you're ready to start doing this type of work? If you're someone who's been kind of sitting on the edge with that, let's say you've been studying the occult, you haven't really got your hands and feet wet yet, but you've been studying, maybe you've been watching my channel, you've heard me talk about it, and you're kind of on the edge of the fence where you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to do it yet, I don't know if I'm ready to start practicing, but another part of me really wants to, and I'm really interested in it. If you're that type of person, this is the exact video that you need right now. This is going to be a very valuable video for you. Now, if you're someone who's already practicing and you're watching this video, this is also going to be valuable because, as I said from the intro, I'm going to reverse engineer the process that you truly do want to follow in order to make sure you're getting the most out of your ritualistic and spiritual workings, to make sure that you're actually, going down a path that you're able to build on top of without crashing and burning. All right? So let's go into it. So here's the truth. I'm going to just jump out the gate with this. When it comes to doing spiritual work, in the sense of invocations of spirits, working with spirits, or when it comes to doing ritual work, this is going to be an advanced way of working with the somatics of the body. So in other words, this is going to trigger some pretty advanced and pretty significant trapped energy inside of the body that then can start setting the stage to release that energy. So with that being said, it's important to realize that doing ritual work and working with spirits is truly not for beginners. It's not something that you should just be jumping right into if you don't already have an underlying foundation, which is something that I've been talking an awful lot about on my channel as of recently, and I will continue to do so moving on into the future because this is the one thing that has has really blown my mind since I've been in the occult field. I've been in the occult field or the occult space for roughly about close to 7 years now. I've been a practitioner, like a heavy practitioner for 6 years. And the one thing that I kept seeing over and over again was some people get into it and their lives improve and so much unfolds for them. They feel like they're getting in touch with their true self for the first time, whereas others do the exact same thing. They follow the exact same path for the most part, and their lives go to complete shit. They literally end up living in a worse hell than when they started. And I could never really figure out, I could never wrap my mind around, like, why are some people going through this process and their lives are getting worse? What's happening there? And for a long time, I was kind of stuck on trying to, for example, like when these types of people would book calls with me, I was trying to help them understand by educating them and giving them mindset. This is the way you want to perceive this. This is the way you want to look at things. This is the way you want to kind of shift your paradigm. And that helps a lot of people. That's valuable for a lot of people, but it doesn't get to the roots, and it doesn't get to the foundation of where that person was. And because of that, I could give someone mindset and I could shift their paradigm when they're on the call with me. But then when they resort back to their daily life and they get involved with their practices, their spiritual practices, things just snap right back into that space where everything's too overwhelming. Their lives are so chaotic. They don't understand how to navigate any of it. And they literally end up becoming worse off from when they started in the spiritual field. All right. So for a long time, I was stuck and I couldn't understand why was that happening. And now I've received the answer and I understand why this does happen. And thankfully I do. And to be quite honest, it wasn't easy for me to understand what's going on with these types of people, and especially with certain clients that I've had in the past. I had to go through my own deep introspection and literally in my own diving deep into my unconscious and pulling a lot of stuff out that I didn't even know was there in order to get the awareness that I now have of the importance of having a foundation. So it really did. It took me through a journey to find the answer that can really help a lot of people and give them value for how they move forward with their spiritual self-development. So, funny enough, like when you're a teacher, this is the types of things that you get involved with. It's like in order to become a valuable teacher and a guide for other people, especially like a soul guide, you've got to go through a lot of pain and you have to go through a lot of suffering to learn some harder lessons than the average person. I am a testament to that process. I've been through it, okay? But here I am now sharing what I've learned, and it's absolutely worth it, okay? And I didn't do it for no reason. It benefits me too. That's a fact. So with that being said, we do want to really understand with what I said in the beginning is spirit work, working with entities, working with spirits, and doing ritual work. This is an advanced way of working with the nervous system. It's an advanced way of working with the somatics of our body. So we need to make sure we have a foundation underneath of all this before we start jumping into this type of work. Now look, if you want to do what your intuition tells you, I encourage you to follow that. But just make sure you have the right education and at least stay to watch this video so you can understand what I'm talking about before you just jump into something thinking it's in your best interest, and then you get into it and then you realize pretty soon after, wow, maybe Jer was right. Maybe I wasn't ready for all this stuff to start coming out. Okay, because as I said, I've seen it happen to a lot of people. So we need to start with the very basics of learning how to understand the sensations within the body. So proper education to give the person, or for me to relate to you, is, do you know your body's sensations? Can you listen to your body's sensations? So a sensation is like, I'm hungry, or I have to use the restroom. Do you listen to that, or do you override that a lot of the times? Okay, this is like the very starting point. So if you're overriding these things, you're going to have a rough time doing the more advanced work like spirit work. Okay, So we put little things in place like that. And then we go into practices that allow you to start feeling your emotions. So not only just following your natural impulses by tuning into those sensations, but then we start allowing the self to feel emotions that come to us throughout the day. So that's emotions like fear, sadness, anger, happiness, love, joy. So we're allowing ourselves to feel rather than having to create a version of ourselves that runs away from feeling or create mechanisms in our life that's always separating from what we're truly feeling. Okay? That's another space. We want to definitely make sure we start removing unhealthy coping mechanisms, drug abuse, toxic relationships, sex addictions, food addictions, video game addictions. We need to really make sure we are pulling back on those unhealthy coping mechanisms and we are shifting the energy into healthy coping mechanisms that places us in a safe environment that also gives us time to start regulating our nervous system. So that would look like pulling back on a certain drug addiction, shifting that energy into maybe going for a walk outside in nature without your phone, without your headphones. So when you're on the walk, you're just tuned in with nature itself. And this is something you can always resort to as a safety net when things get overwhelming. So when we start to do the deeper work, like invoking spirits or doing certain types of rituals, especially if we're talking about initiatory rituals like initiating into the clip-off, you can always rely on these healthy mechanisms when things are overwhelming. Too much fear, too much to process, too much going on in the world around you. You know what? I'm putting everything down. I'm going to go for a walk outside. You know what? I'm putting everything down. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to allow myself to cope, but I'm doing it in a healthy way. And it's also going to help me regulate my nervous system. And it creates an underlying sense of being safe because you know that when things get too heated and too overwhelmed, you have an outlet to resort to escape that energy in a healthy way. Whereas most people are stuck doing it in unhealthy ways, which removes their safety when they do it. So it's like it gets too overwhelming. They start drinking alcohol. Now they're feeling, right off the bat, when you start drinking alcohol, you usually feel good for a little bit. Then it wears down, and then you start feeling a lot less safe than when you even started. You feel worse. It gets even more overwhelming, and that causes the person to spiral down, and that's a weak foundation. So if we have a weak foundation and then we start getting into spirit work and initiatory rituals, we're going to be building a pretty tall building. And if that foundation at the bottom is weak, it is very likely that this building is going to crash down. All right. So these are some examples that I really wanted to share to you as the listener so you can understand literally some of the most practical basics of where we need to look at and where we need to start ideally before we're getting into spirit work like invocations and rituals. All right. As we progress and we get comfortable with this underlying safety net, we get comfortable with these healthy coping mechanisms, we get comfortable with starting to feel our emotions, and we know we're allowing ourselves to, then we can start implementing deeper practices. Okay, now we have practices in place that are pulling out the inner child. So a simple example is having a picture of your younger self. Like let's say when you're 5 years old and just allowing yourself to gaze at that and see what comes up. Okay, sitting in silence is one of the most effective practices that I've used in my journey that I also recommend for a lot of my clients. It sets the stage for us to become a better observer of our mind and also learn how to feel the emotions by just being in the sitting in silence. It's kind of something you have to do. So there's practices like that. Then there's more advanced practices where it's like we're in public and we're actively dropping the mind and we're tuning into the emotions. So we're not thinking and we're not creating stories when we're in public, So most of us, when we get in public, our minds start to naturally like to take control. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing bad with that. But there can be problems when the mind is out of balance with the emotions. When the mind is moving in one direction and the soul and the emotions is in the center, which is most people. The mind's overactive, the soul is underactive. So by doing a practice like this, dropping the mind, tuning directly into the emotions, we're recalibrating and we're rebalancing that emotional body. And this looks like being in public, let's say at your local grocery store, and rather than thinking about everything that's happening, oh, that person looks funny, or that person's, they said hi to me, how should I respond to them? Or, the things that we create in our mind, like, what is that person thinking of me? What am I about to grab right now? What's the first food that comes to my mind? Instead of thinking, we're actively dropping the mind. So we're becoming aware that we are thinking, we're creating a story, and then we say, wait a minute, I'm thinking, drop the mind, I'm going to start feeling now. What feels right? What food feels like a food that is going to start nourishing my body? It may even be a food I've never eaten before. But if it feels like something I need or something I want, then I'm allowing myself to acknowledge that feeling and I'm letting it guide me. If I'm walking and I'm down an aisle and there's a person standing there and I feel an energy of just this disgust or this energy of anger, I can use that emotion as an indicator and then make a decision off of that. I can either go up to the person and walk past them and keep feeling that emotion, or I can turn and walk down a different aisle. It's completely unique and it's completely dynamic compared on depending on the person and what they decide. All right, but we're using the feelings to guide us. And for the most part, we're trying to learn how to follow what feels right. I like to say what feels light is usually what is right. So if it feels good and it feels easy, that's the direction we kind of want to start training ourselves to move in. Now, that's not to say that we need to always move away from hardship and challenging situations that don't make us feel good. That's not to say that. But as I said, most of us have overactive minds that actually keep us in patterns that are negative, where we do feel like shit all the time. And a lot of us mentally seek that out. So we can start to tune into the emotions, get into the body, regulate the nervous system, and start retraining ourselves to follow what feels good. This can be very helpful for a lot of people. So these are like little examples. Then as we get into more of an advanced work, now we can start working with spirits. Now we can start doing ritualistic work, which is really going to take things to a very dynamic degree. And the reason why is because these spirits that we're working with, these are external intelligent forces. So just like I'm here now recording this video, and you're on your side wherever you are right now, I am different than you. I am separate from you. I am Jeremiah. You are blank. You are someone else. But at the same time, we have similarities. Okay? I have my own mind. You have your own mind. But we have similar resonance on a soul and on a spiritual level. There are things that you can literally connect with me on that are exactly the same that I experience and that you experience. And this is showing the nature of the true connection that we all have to the source or to God or to the infinite all. All right. So when we're starting to work with these spirits and entities, we are working with externalized intelligent forces in our local universe. But at the same time, these entities that we're communicating with or that we're invoking and we're calling into ourselves, the same energy that we're working with, we are also cultivating that same energy inside of our bodies, inside of our own cellular structure, genetic structure, and DNA structure. So it's the same concept that you're here right now learning from me, you're my student, I'm the teacher in this dynamic, and I am literally relaying certain information and energy to you through this screen to the point where some of you are resonating so deeply, it's actually waking up dormant cellular structures. It's turning on certain genetic strands, certain DNA functions, and it's opening up consciousness. Same thing happens when we work with these entities and certain types of spirits. So we want to be prepared when we do that work, because a lot of these entities that we're going to be working with are existing in higher dimensional planes than our planet Earth. Some of us on planet Earth have already existed in some of these higher dimensional planes because we are what's called wanderers, meaning we've traveled backwards from higher dimensions to lower ones to play an evolutionary role or to experience what it's like being in this planetary sphere in this density. But there's a lot of people that are not wanderers, that didn't come from higher planes, that are native to planet Earth. And this is their highest form of evolution so far within the third density. So when you have a person like that who has a body and a nervous system and an energy field that is experienced and native to, let's say, the third density, a planet like Earth, when they start connecting with a higher density entity or spirits, you can imagine some of the changes and some of the transformations that start to take place within that type of person compared to the person that may have already had previous life experiences in those higher densities. All right, so it can be a lot more resurfacing and a lot more energetic awakening than someone who's already had the experience. So we want to make sure that we have that structure in place and that proper foundation underneath of everything so that we don't blow our nervous systems out, so that we don't blow, that's exactly it. We don't blow our nervous systems out and then become overwhelmed with everything that's surfacing itself. We want to be very aware that this is stuff that can absolutely happen when we start working with spirits. And at the end of the day, you are always responsible for your self-development. So if you're calling on an entity or a spirit within this local universe to start developing that part of yourself, you're responsible for what you're calling on. So if you're calling on a force that is going to trigger significant cellular change, DNA genetic change, you have to be responsible for what you're calling on and be ready to go through what that ends up triggering in your life experience, what that ends up triggering internally for yourself so that you can start feeling and healing, integrating and processing. So we want to make sure, once again, coming right back to what I was saying, we want to make sure we have the right foundation before we're calling on these really powerful forces to initiate internal transformation to a degree that can be quite overwhelming. So this is why working with entities and working with spirits can be a little bit dangerous. But when you do it with the right foundation and you follow the right process, you have all the tools in your tool belt that you need so that when things and if things get overwhelming, which they always do at some point in someone's path, you know what to rely on. You can literally escape the intensity of it, and you can say, look, I'm gonna go do this instead. And you have a larger capacity to feel some of those negative emotions that are naturally repressed in our bodies, naturally repressed in our nervous systems. Because if you think about it, the power that we all have access to exists within the true self state. And the true self state is so in alignment with that inner child, because it's like right when we incarnated into this planet, when we were in the mother's womb, that was the essence of our true self. We didn't have a mindset that liked to label everything and attach to things. We just were in that true self state where we were expressing what it was like being in the present moment for where we were at the time. And then as we get older, clearly we go through indoctrination, we go through programming, and we go through trauma. And this is what stores a lot of these negative energies, emotions specifically in our nervous systems. And we separate from that negative energy. We separate from these emotions in our own body. We create these identities and these personas that literally help us run away from that present moment of feeling what it is that we need to feel. And this sets us on a path of living in a inauthentic state, or living an artificial intelligence lifestyle. And this is a part of the process. And as we work backwards to get back in touch with that true self and to essentially heal with that inner child, now we're stepping into our ultimate power and our ultimate potential, which does reside in the present moment. So when we're working with these entities that exist in our local universe, in order to gain what these entities represent and develop those qualities inside of ourselves, we have to remove some of the barriers that are in the way of us accessing those powers. And those barriers are exactly what I was just communicating. Stored negative emotions from past unhealed trauma. So this is why so often when we work with these forces, we have to go through a deep healing process and a resurfacing of that same negative emotional energy within our body. And we have to know with proper education and have proper tools to know how to process that energy when it surfaces. And as we do that effectively and as we do it properly, now we're able to start waking up those specific cellular structures and genetic DNA structures that that entity we're working with represents inside of our own body. So in other words, we're actually becoming the entity we're working with. All right? And I know that this is a lot of information, okay? So this is stuff that most people don't fully understand and definitely don't have an ability to communicate in the way that I do. So if you're appreciating this type of content and it's really helping you understand things that you've never heard anyone else talk about, hit the thumbs up button. Let me know. Okay, and drop down in the comment section and let me know how much you appreciate this type of information. And also, I would definitely recommend checking out my Patreon for a lot more education on subjects like this and practices that can get you started with building your own foundation. That can be very helpful. All right, so with that being said, when we are getting into the spiritual work and then the ritual work, this is when things really start to progress. This is when things start to build like a very profound momentum along the lines of true self-integration and emotional processing. And this does get overwhelming and it is a challenging process. There's no one that goes through this journey as if it is a breeze or a walk through the park. It is always going to be challenging. But as I said, if you have the right foundation, this can really intensify your ability to recognize and reintegrate your true self and increase your power. All right, so what was it? It was about 8 years ago, roughly 8 years ago, 9 years ago, from this day, I was a completely different person. Obviously, but so different that it's almost mind-blowing to see where I was about 9 years ago from this day and where I am now, as I am literally running an over six-figure business, doing exactly what it is that I love to do, living in my own condo that I own. 9 years ago, I was living in my dad's basement. I was basically sick. I was separated from myself. I literally had multiple personality disorder. I was hanging out with people on a daily basis that didn't love me, that were literally drug addicts. I was one myself, and I felt in many ways hopeless. But somehow I found a way to navigate myself through those circumstances, get myself out of that toxic environment. I cut off a lot of relationships that I literally considered best friends at that time, literally cut them off, and moved states. Literally went from Maryland to Florida and started completely over. And 9 years later, I'm here now, once again, feeling so authentic. Obviously, there's still a lot of work that I'm doing, and this is an ongoing journey, but I feel so authentic and in alignment with who I truly am compared to where I was, that it's almost unbelievable. and it feels amazing. And, you know, I've got so many things that are shifting in my life that are unfolding in a way that actually feels good and feels right for the first time in a very long time. So I'm saying this to show you that I am a direct testament to how working with spirits and really working with the occult in its more direct ways can significantly change your life very quickly. But I need to make it clear that I went through a lot of unnecessary pain and suffering to get to the point where I'm at now. All right. Yes, I made a lot of progress in truly a short amount of time. 10 years is not that long. I made a lot of progress in that amount of time, and I'm 27 now, but I absolutely paid the price. Okay. I made real sacrifices and I went through some real blood, sweat, and tears to get here. All right. Did I have to go through such a ruthlessly painful journey to get to this point? No, I didn't. But at the same end of that token, I am a very significant type of teacher, a teacher that really knows how to dive into someone's deepest unconscious and pull things out they don't want to see. So in another respect, I went through the harder path so that I could be here as a teacher to guide people so that they don't have to go through that path. All right. So with that being said, occult workings, spiritual invocations, ritualistic workings like initiating into the clip-off, these are going to start changing your life very quickly. So be ready and make sure you have the foundation underneath of everything before you progress into that. Now, if you're already progressed into that and you're now listening to what I was talking about in this video and you're starting to notice that your foundation is weak and you're noticing that your life is just not unfolding the way that you thought it would, where you feel like you've been stuck for literally 2 years, 3 years now, and you're just stuck in a cycle. If you're doing ritualistic work and you're working with spirits and you feel like you're stuck in an ongoing cycle and you're not moving anywhere, you're missing something in your foundation. So it's going to be very important that you start identifying what those things are that need to be changed and start working on them. If you're wanting to break out of that cycle that you may find yourself in and start progressing again, where you can, you know, step more into your true self and live a life that's satisfying and worth living. Now, if you're someone that's having trouble doing this, because there's a lot of people that cannot do this on their own, okay, not everyone has that willpower and has that mental fortitude to literally do this on their own. So if you're someone that needs help doing this, I would highly consider booking a mentorship with me so that you can have me as your personal guide that navigates with you through this process to help you get from being stuck and stagnant to moving into spaces where you can have a lot more freedom and, most importantly, a lot more safety to be your true self. All of that is in the second link below. Definitely look into it. But ultimately, that is what I wanted to say with this video. I cannot tell you how many people I have seen that have gotten into the occult and have done the more advanced practices without having a ability to regulate their nervous system. And literally what happens is they completely blow out their system by working with these forces that are, and by performing rituals that are super powerful and that are super life transforming, but this person still does not know how to feel, you know, a deep repressed fear that they received when they were like 5 years old from their father. And that same repressed fear that's in that kid's nervous system, as they're getting into the deeper occult ritual work, that fear forces itself to the surface. And when it does, that scares a person. That becomes so terrifying when that fear is now enhanced tenfold because they're doing ritual work or they're doing spirit work. And the spirit is trying to get them to face it, basically. I mean, have you ever heard the saying, face your demons? I mean, when we're working with demonic forces, this is the exact work that we're here doing. So, you know, the person's forced to face that energy and they don't know how to. They haven't even got themselves to a safety space where they feel like they can even do that yet. They're still separated from their true self so far, and they have all these patterns in place that are so unhealthy and causing them even more of a sense of not being safe, and they resort to that even more. They hold on to that even stronger when they got themselves into the spirit work and the ritual work. And I've seen it happen. Oop, I just got a message on my phone. So I just got a message. This is an app that I have on my phone. It's called Motivation. And the message says this. So this is the app. It just literally randomly came up. So I think it's something that needs to be said in this moment. It says, a good mood doesn't mean your life is perfect. It means that you have chosen to be happy despite the imperfections. Very interesting. But yeah, as I was saying, I've seen a lot of people fall into that. And it, for many, it destroys their life. And for many, they don't end up seeking help to get themselves out of that situation. And that becomes very unfortunate for a lot of people. You know, you don't want to end up like that, because that is going to make your life so much harder. And there's a way, and if that has happened to you, look, I'm not here to make you scared, because this has happened to me. Like, I'm a living embodiment of this type of thing happening to me, except I have a stronger will than a lot of people, and I have a strong mental fortitude to the point where I pulled myself out of it. All right, but guess what? It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and pain and suffering to do that. A lot of sacrifice that a lot of people aren't willing to make to do that. But I did it. It happens. People do it. I'm not the only one who's done it. So if this has happened to you, you're not at the end of the road. It's not a dead end. There's much opportunity to get back on track. But you definitely want to work with someone who's a professional that can help you get back on that track and set you onwards with the right foundation. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to leave this video. I think I said enough. If this was something that you thought was valuable, something that really helped you evolve or is helping you evolve, and you want more content that revolves along these lines, that talks about the occult, spiritual phenomena, but also grounds it in a very practical way so that you can connect it to your physical body, your nervous system, your emotions, your mentality, and integrate it properly. If you appreciate that, and if this type of content is doing this for you, hit that thumbs up button and let me know. Once again, as I said earlier, drop down in the comment section and let me know what you learned from this video. I am very curious to hear your feedback. And trust me, I do look over the comments. I will hit the thumbs up and the like button to let you know. All right. Now also, hit the notification bell and make sure you're getting notified whenever I'm posting these videos, because you don't want to be missing out, because this is very important information. And there's going to be a lot more important information continuously streamlining through my channel. So get notified when I'm posting, and I post every other day for the most part. Now also drop down here and make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. Subscribing, you are going to link into my content and me in general if you want to get more value from what it is that I teach. There really is an energetic component that's behind that. By subscribing to my channel, you're literally connecting your energy field to me. And right now you're receiving my energy, where I am the teacher, you are the students. I'm giving you energy. And in other ways, I'm receiving energy from you as well. So if you want to link in that way, subscribe. Now, I want to say, go into the YouTube description and you're going to scroll down. You're eventually going to see a post and a link that says private Facebook community. If you want to join within a private Facebook community where there are almost 1,000 members, and there are people posting on an active and a daily basis, then definitely look into that. This is going to be an amazing group of people, truly an amazing group of people that are very open-minded and are non-judgmental. So if you're someone who's had spiritual phenomena happen in your life and you feel like you have no one to share it with and people think you're crazy, go into this private Facebook community, request to join. One of my moderators will add you in, share your experience, and watch how many people are probably going to directly resonate with what you went through and also be able to offer you valuable advice for what you need to know moving forward along your path. All right, there have been real relationships and tight-knit bonds that have been formed by members within this group because of the nature of the community itself. It's very valuable. All right, and it's a great place to kind of just open up, be yourself, allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable, and connect with other people. Okay, check it out. All of that in the YouTube description. Now, I also want to say this. If this video was very valuable and someone comes to your mind that you know needs to hear this content, send it to them. Copy and paste the link and send it to them. I encourage you to do that. Or if you have social media platforms of any sort and you feel like posting my content on your platform, by all means, you have my full permission to do that. Okay? My intention is to really spread this information as much as possible because this is really what people need to know about. All right? And at the same time, that helps increase my business and it helps me build my empire. So that's also another component as to why I would appreciate if you share this content. So let's spread this content like a wildfire and let's make sure people are aware of this stuff and let's build up my empire. All right? So that'd be very appreciated. Definitely consider that. Now, I'm going to take your awareness to literally one of the most important links within the entire YouTube description itself. This is the first link at the very top. You can't miss it in that description. This is where you can join the Patreon. On the Patreon, I have a whole bunch of videos that are exclusive to the Patreon only. They're not on my public channel. Tons of content, tons of blog posts, tons of stuff, material that is educational in nature and educational to a degree that you're not going to find anywhere else. I have put a lot of time and energy into cultivating this Patreon and developing it so that people can use it as a very significant tool to better understand the universal nature of our planet, of the human species, of spirits, entities, all types of these things. Now, also, there are some significant practices that I'm performing and demonstrating, teaching on my Patreon as well that can really get you in a space where you're somebody who is getting into the occult field and you don't really know what to do. And then you go into my Patreon and you start studying some of the practical videos that I have. I have an entire magic training course, by the way. And you can start using that to start navigating your occult practice process. And as of recently, I've uploaded videos that takes you through practices that teach you how to regulate your nervous system and also educate you to know how to better understand these repressed emotions that are in the nervous system and how to feel them and why we're feeling them. All right, so these are some of the more recent videos that I've uploaded that are very fundamental and very important. All of this on the Patreon. In the third tier of the Patreon, this is what's called the Universe.B Vampire Service. This is a ritual service that is performed on the 29th of every single month that has one. It's completely designed to shift and change the energetic structure of the participant of this service. It takes their energy field and starts to spin it counterclockwise rather than clockwise. Most people naturally have more so of a clockwise spin to their energy field, which is more radiant. It pushes out more. Counterclockwise is much more magnetic and it draws the awareness more so inwards. So what this really does is it sets the stage for the person to start loving themselves more. So if there's areas of your life that you've been giving your power away freely after receiving the service, it's going to set the stage for you to start drawing your awareness inwards and start recognizing some of those areas you've been giving your power away and then starting to pull back from that and doing things that show real love to yourself. Now, this also allows the person to be much more receptive to their unconscious and subconscious mind. This is a very feminine energy that starts to really, I guess in a way, integrate through the person after receiving the service, where they're being more receptive, they're letting go more, and they're feeling their emotions. And this sets the stage to start processing some of those negative emotions that are stored in our bodies, to integrate them and then turn them into positive emotions so that we don't have to get stuck in these cycles of pain and suffering. We can start living a completely different life experience. Most people spend all their time and energy almost every single day running away from this integration process. The vampire service changes that. Vampires thrive in the darkness. They thrive in the unconscious realm because they know there is real hidden power and potential in those spaces of consciousness. But most importantly, they know that in order to integrate them, they have to drop the mind and use the senses. Think of a bat, right? A bat oftentimes spends its existence in darkness, and it doesn't use its eyes to see, but it uses its senses and its echolocation to navigate. So by going through this emotional feeling, by having the proper education to know what's going on, having practices in place, being able to be more receptive, letting go more, feeling the emotions, that is exactly what a vampire truly is and why they gain so much power within their own darkness, within their own unconscious. Now, this also sets the stage for the person to take dark energy and chaos in the environment around them, and rather than seeing it from a dualistic lens, as in good and evil, right and wrong, bad or whatever, they can start seeing it for what it really is. They can see this darker symbolism within the universe for what it truly and really is, which truly is a feminine symbol. Dark energy and chaos is a feminine symbol that is designed to give power and potential. So the vampires are able to take that energy and transmute it into what it actually is, which is their own power and potential, and most importantly, their true self. So if anyone of you listening have been through some significant religious indoctrination or religious trauma, this vampire service can be very helpful to start you undoing that trauma or healing from that trauma, to start seeing what some of the darker symbols in the world actually are communicating and what they're representing. All right? So if any of this interests you, this sounds like something you want to take advantage of, this service is being performed this month on the 29th. You can take advantage of it, but you have to be a tier number 3 member or a tier 4 member to take advantage. All of that's in the YouTube description. First link at the top. Now, as we move into tier number 4, this gives you access to everything from the previous tiers, but you also get some additional bonus. You get a psychic prediction on a monthly basis, which is based on my tarot and my oracle card deck to help you navigate the energies of that new month. And then you have an ability to message me on WhatsApp whenever you want, and I will personally be responding through voice message. So you literally have me on call for any of your questions, and when I have a chance to, I will be responding through voice message. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely consider it. That would be tier number 4 of the Patreon. Check it out. Now, I'm going to take your awareness to another very important link within the YouTube description itself. This is the second link below. This is going to be very important. This is where you can book a mentorship with me. I have a 3-month mentorship and I have a 6-week mentorship. This is going to be very important if you're wanting to work with me and have me to guide you through this process of cultivating your own safety net, your own foundation, while also identifying what some of the negative energies are, or some of the negative emotional energies are that are in your nervous system right now, so that we can start being aware of it and allowing the self to start feeling it. And wherever we need to start is going to be individualized based on the person, but ultimately you're going to have me as a guide through this process, educating you, and as I said, guiding you throughout it. So if this is something that you want and something that you think deep down will be important, definitely consider it. Second link below. Check out the mentorships. All right. I've already done over 10 mentorships. This is a very new service that I offer. I've had several people that have booked mentorships with me and then booked another mentorship with me because of the value that they're seeing in these services. All right. So if this is something you want to take advantage of, check it out. Second link below. If you want a taste of what this work could be like, or simply if you've just been studying my content and there's some questions that you might want to ask me, then definitely consider booking a one-on-one call with me. I have that option in there as well. All right. So with that being said, we're going to wrap that up there. That's the second link below. Now also within that same second link, there is an option to book a tarot card reading with me. This is going to be a very unique tarot card reading. It's not going to be one you've ever received before. And the reason is because I understand the Kabbalistic tree way more than the average person does. So what I can do is I can literally pinpoint where you are on that tree, tell you what you're feeling, experiencing, and going through in the present moment, and then what to expect as you start to transition or move into your near and your long-term future. I've done well over 2,000 readings at this point. I do a reading almost every single day. I receive tons of valuable feedback. If this is something you want to take advantage of, second link below is where you can also book this reading with me. So we'll leave that there. Now we're going to the third link below. This is where you can become a YouTube member. As you're becoming a YouTube member, you're actually getting access to a bunch of different benefits, but I'm going to focus on one. The most important is the Psychic Warfare Emoji Program. So this is a certain sequence of emojis that I've designed myself personally that can be used in a certain configuration. Then you link in the name of a target, you hit enter, and it will actually cause psychic effects to that target of your choice. This is a real way and a very simple way, one of the most practical ways to use psychic warfare through the internet platform. Now, this also becomes a very powerful way to express healthy aggression. So rather than repressing that anger or that hatred that you might have deep down towards another person, you can start expressing it in a healthy way, which is not actually physically hurting them or crossing any lines with the law or just with other people in general, but you can express it through psychic means, a completely legal way. All right. And that can be, once again, a very healthy way to express healthy aggression. So if that is something that you want to take advantage of, it's that third link below. You click it and then you join at the top, and then you will have access. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it's going to come to its close. I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.